Hello and welcome to another episode of Just a Few. In these few minutes, I take the opportunity to respond to a question submitted to me along biblical lines. My name is Patrick Antwine, and I consider it an honor to be hosting videos like these to provide responses to people, and I hope that they're a blessing not just to the person submitting the question, but to you as a viewer. So on to today's question. Today's question is fasting a requirement for Christians, and does it have any benefits? So it's a two-part question. I'll try to address both parts. Maybe I'll try to address the second part first. Let me begin by maybe trying to make sure all my viewers are on the same page as far as this is concerned. I'll begin with a definition. It's not an exhaustive definition. It's just my definition of what is fasting. So I want to address that first. So here's my definition. Fasting is the voluntary denial of food and beverages for a predetermined period of time for the purposes of self-discipline, physical renewal, or spiritual upliftment. So I'm not going to repeat that. You have the video there. I'll post it up there, and you can pause and go back and take a look at what I use as my definition. That being out of the way, I want to say that fasting was, and indeed is still, a common practice among ancient cultures. It still is practice if you go to most Eastern cultures, whether it's China, India, the Middle East, parts of Africa, fasting is a common practice. Even animals practice fasting. Have you ever observed when, even if it's a pet, a dog or a cat, or generally most animals, when they become injured, even wild animals, if you look at documentaries, when they become injured, they stop eating and they may go and sit somewhere. And I've noticed dogs, whenever they are ill, they would stop eating, they will not eat, and they'll begin chewing on certain grasses and herbs, and they would take the juices out of that and they would drink it, and they would stay without food for a day or so, and then you'll see them recovering. That's because it takes a tremendous amount of energy to digest food. And in our environment of processed foods, well, it's even worse. It's not like a simple diet, a natural diet. It takes a lot of energy to digest food. And whenever our bodies break down, whenever we are ill or diseased in our bodies, the body naturally goes into a state where you lose your appetite. And that's because the body wants to devote as much energy as possible to cleansing, to attending to this disease or whatever is causing the weakening condition. The energy that would normally have been used for digesting food, the body wants to divert that energy elsewhere. And that's why fasting becomes almost natural in a case like that. You lose your appetite, the body wants to fast. So fasting is a very, very common discipline in, well, you could say in nature. Fasting, when done properly, has many benefits. So that's addressing the second part of the question. And I say when done properly because fasting is different from starvation. In my definition that I gave you a few moments ago, I used the word voluntary denial. And there's a distinction between fasting and starvation. Fasting is voluntary. You choose to say no to food for a period of time. And if someone is hungry, wants to eat, and then for some reason they are forcibly denied food, that's starvation. That's not fasting. If you come home and there's nothing to eat and you have to go to bed with nothing, you didn't fast. You went to bed hungry, but that's not really fasting. Fasting is psychologically when you choose to deny yourself. It's voluntary. Other than that, it's starvation. So fasting, I say again, when done properly, it produces physical, emotional, and spiritual benefits. And when I say done properly, you don't go into fasting, especially if it's an extended period of time, unprepared, or you don't come out of fasting, jump right back into eating all types of processed foods. It has the opposite effect. It destroys the body, because all along the body is cleansing, and then you almost shock your body now by going back to eating a whole set of foods right after you fasted. Of course, if it's just for a brief period you fasted, well, you could get away with it. But if you fast for 2-3 days or more, and then you just jump right back to eating a lot of foods, it could have a detrimental effect, because the body begins to think it's not going to get food after, and it starts to almost like hoard all of that food and converts it to fat. So I'm going to leave that there. So my name is Patrick Antoine. I hope that helps and clarifies the issue a little bit. That's my response in just a few minutes. If you have a question and you'd like me to address it from a biblical perspective, please feel free to use the email address I have up on the screen now. Submit your question through that email address, and I'll try to address it in a video as soon as possible. Until the next time, grace and peace be multiplied to you.